Lake Fork Guide Stephen Fatherree, and in this short video I want to talk about a technique that I really like to use when most bass anglers are up beating the bank and sight fishing, when they're catching bedded bass that they can see. I like to back off and throw a squarebill crankbait, but not just throw a squarebill crankbait, throw a squarebill crankbait and reel it in extremely fast. Use a very erratic retrieve, a stop and go retrieve, and try to trigger a reaction bite from some of those fish that are bedding a little bit deeper off of the bank. The bait that I like to use for this technique is a Crush 50X Squarebill from 6 Sense Lures. This is a 3/8 ounce bait, dives 2 to 5 foot, and it's actually a little bit thinner than most of the squarebills that are on the markets. That flatter shape of this bait is great because it runs really true on a very fast retrieve. That's very important, that way you can maintain your depth while you're reeling that bait. It's important to try to cast at submerged stumps, laydowns, grass edges, any type of cover that is in that shallow water where you're trying to catch your fish. It's important that you make an accurate cast with this squarebill crank. Try to bring it right down the tip of that laydown or right next to the base of that stump to have the best results. A lot of times, as soon as you bump that particular piece of cover, you can pause the squarebill crankbait and just let it sit motionless, and a lot of times the bass will attack it right after it does that. The depth that I like to target with this bait is around 3 to 5 foot. I like to stay fairly shallow and back off to where you just lose sight of the visible bedded bass. I like to throw this Crush 50X on a 7-foot medium heavy moderate action Avid Series rod from St. Croix. I like to match this with 10 to 12 pound 100% fluorocarbon line. That fluorocarbon is very important. It's low stretch, very abrasion resistant. You can crank this thing through the trees all day long. You can crank this line through trees and you're not going to have to retie very often. One thing that I really recommend doing is changing out the stock hooks on this Crush 50X, putting some really sharp laser trocar trebles on there. That way if a bass even sniffs or slaps at your lure, these sticky hooks are going to grab them and keep them until you can get them in the boat. So try throwing a squarebill crankbait with a fast erratic retrieve next time you go fishing this spring. For more fishing tip videos, click the link in the description below. I'm Lake Fork Guide Stephen Fatherree. Good luck fishing, everyone.